All right, guys, so we are back ready for the third game here in this Heroes of Newerth series, best out of 3. So this is the third and final game for this third place matchup. A lot of threes in there. But again, these two teams are competing for $7,000 for between these two, $5,000 for the winning team, $2,000 for the team that comes out on the losing end of this matchup. So still a lot of money. And at least they get something, but that's a large split right there for these two teams, and we have had a fantastic series so far. Both games have honestly been very, very entertaining. Obviously, Fnatic MSI taking the first game there, just very aggressive manner, and just really took it to TDM. On the other hand, though, in the second game, Trademark Esports got off to a great start. Fnatic MSI looked to have some hope there. A scout started to get some really beefy farm, but in the end, it was not enough. It didn't matter, and as a result, Trademark Esports came out on top, sending us into this third and final game. So I'm Breaking CBK, joined by Suns Fan again. What did you think of that game there, Suns Fan?
It was awesome. I'm actually looking forward to what the bans are going to be for MSI, because the first game, Zephyr was the dominant one, and you saw Zephyr be banned the next game. Actually, most of their lineup was banned for the most part. And then you see more generic heroes coming out for MSI, but aside from the Scout, of course, which was completely random, unfortunately it didn't end up working out for them. But then on TDM side, they completely dominated with the aggressive strategy, basically taking it to MSI with the multiple portal keys, the multiple health flowers, multiple, any kind of CC abilities is ridiculous. So interested to see which team is going to be the aggressor in this game, if we're going to have maybe a more, maybe not as fast-paced game as before. I mean, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll definitely see what happens here. And again, I believe it looks like both teams are now ready to go. So yeah, we are ready to go, and hopefully we get this countdown started and ready and going into the third and final game. So as remember, guys, this is a third-place matchup. We will be having the grand finals right after. We know we are a little bit behind the schedule, but we will be having the grand finals right after between Online Kingdom and Team Lion. And boy, I cannot wait for that. I don't know if you're actually going to. I believe we're going to have Phil back for that one, but
get the real pro back.
You're going to be excited to. Come on now. I think you've done a fantastic job. So
it's all right.
It's been a lot of fun casting with you, Suns Fan. So yeah, as soon as both teams are good to go, then we are going to get into this game and get the third and final game going to see what happens. But you mentioned that scout pickup there by Fnatic MSI, and that there was a lot of question around that. And I brought up the point that they're up 1-0. You look at it that way and seeing that, well, we're comfortable, we're in a pretty good spot. Let's maybe go with a little bit of a risky pick here. So they went with the scout pickup. It has worked out for them in the past, but clearly this time around it did not. But as you can hear from the noise, we have actually gone into the game at the banning stage, so we'll see how it goes out from here. But I think, again, it's safe to say, expect to see at the very least that Zephyr ban in fact, there we go. The very first ban by Trademark Esports happens to be Zephyr, and both teams kind of going back and forth pretty quickly in this banning phase. But yeah, now that we see that Zephyr ban, there has been some other heroes that Mage Bane was banned the first 2 games. Again, just a very annoying hero, and MSI amongst really every team, Mage Bane has just been a popular go-to carry on the scene. Not the most entertaining, but he will win you games. So we'll see, of course, if he eventually gets banned throughout this banning stage. But yeah, looking forward to see how things play out here. And I will make a note as well. No-Tail didn't have a great performance that last game against Moonmeander in that middle lane. Moonmeander really took it to him in the Tundra versus Torture matchup. Kind of makes you wonder a little bit. The last time we saw No-Tail, in the grand finals of the DreamHack Winter event, he was a little bit pissed off. He ended up going Polywog Priest in that third game, and boy, oh boy, did he dominate. So I am curious to see if we see something like that. But banning phase is kind of wrapping up here. We do see that Mage Bane ban. I think we're both going to say thank God.
Yep.
Don't want to have to see that. On top of that, you got your Tremble, Plague, Grotter, Parasite, and Pebble. So I believe we're waiting on one more ban. And actually, no, 2 more bans, and then we'll be good to go between these two teams here.
Yeah, Parasite being banned. Obviously, last game, Z-Freak played amazing on Parasite, and Ophelia is actually going to be banned as a result of that as well, which isn't too big of a surprise. And Tempest is going to be the last ring. So jungle ban happy basically going on here overall. But yeah, no surprises coming out. A lot of heroes still on the board. I mean, Midas, who wasn't in last game, was he banned last game? Do you know?
I believe he was, yeah.
Okay, so he's available yet again. And I mean, that's the great thing about HoN. There's so many different heroes you can choose from as you can first pick Midas. God, I'm amazing at this game, I know. Jesus, horse. But that's not too big of a surprise. I mean, there's still a ton of board. I mean, we've got Electrician, we've got Kraken on the board still. Tundra's still there. Torture, actually, I'm surprised wasn't banned this game, as he was really crucial last game. So Torture and Tundra being both picked up. It's a little bit standard coming out here from both teams, but I think from here we can see a little more uniqueness. although Demented Shaman actually still is on the board now to look at it, so see if they end up picking that up as well.
Yeah, and of course, with it being still on the board. In fact, there we go. So we see Demented Shaman and Kraken actually the follow-up pickups there from Fnatic MSI. So, again, they're kind of working into a pretty powerful heal-style lineup with that Demented Shaman and Midas. Now they got Kraken to kind of lead the way, but we'll see if they do go for another, really tanky. Now, a hero we have seen it very, very rarely, but we have seen, especially paired up with the Demented Shaman, is that Cthulhu Font. And I would love to see him because I'm personally a big fan of the hero. I find him very fun to play, but there is a lot of, things to say about him in terms of does he scale the best into the late game? Probably not, especially compared to a lot of other picks that you could go with. But when it comes to the laning phase, that lane combination alone, Demented Shaman, Cthulhu Font, it should and most likely will dominate the laning phase. So I am curious to see if Fnatic MSI decides to pair up with that Demented Shaman with such a hero.
That's literally the only combination you can do competitively. Is anytime you want to pick Cthulhu Font, the only time you can do that is when there's Demented Shaman on the board. So
exactly. Yeah.
You're right. So it's definitely a possibility. And they did that game 1 against Online Kingdom. And that was the epicness game that went forever and it was really epic. I don't think it's going to say epic enough, but
legendary.
Legendary indeed. But I think he doesn't scale very well late game, like you said, but I think you can build him a certain way in which he'll at least be more helpful. And I think that, and I haven't seen it yet, like a mock of a brilliance on him I think would be great, considering you cannot kill him and you're not going to target him because he's just a fat, disgusting mess. But on the other side here, MSI going to get the Glacius and Forsaken Archer going to join Torture and Tundra so far. So Forsaken Archer finally being picked up in this tournament. Obviously, since the changes to her ultimate, along with a long time ago the change to the split shot, much better late game, and I think it's one of those heroes that's really good in the laning phase as well. So that's one of those carries that can be helpful throughout, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit surprised that I think it's safe to say that this is kind of passed around amongst a lot of people, is that Forsaken Archer hasn't been seen as much as maybe we expected, especially after that ultimate change. You talked about the split shot a long while ago. That was a step in the right direction, but still the ultimate was deemed useless. But ever since the change to the ultimate, where it spawns the illusion now, rather than having to sit here and channel with it, it definitely makes a lot more sense, makes her a lot more powerful, but we still don't see her nearly as much. There's just those others that just come into play rather than her. But picked up here by TDM, so the point I'm getting at, despite us not seeing her much, a fantastic pickup for TDM. So I definitely like that, and to go with their Tundra, Glacius, and Torture. As far as Fnatic MSI is concerned, again, they're waiting on their final 2 picks. We already have the Demented Shaman, Midas, and Kraken, and they have about 15 seconds here before they need to finish things off. I know I hear a lot of discussion in the back. I'm not even sure what that's about, but the team's definitely making some noise about what picks they want to go with. And there we go, Cthulhu Font and Pyromancer to go here for Fnatic MSI. So obviously the Cthulhu Font pickup, not a big shocker, but the Pyromancer pickup, maybe a little bit of a wondering pickup there of why they went the Pyromancer. Now, you got to expect it's going to be a Demented Shaman Cthulhu Font, and I guess we're going to see it. Excuse me, there. A Pyromancer Kraken lane, and then having Midas solo.
Yeah, that's going to be.
To go with the Pyromancer.
That's going to be an interesting lane with the Pyro Kraken, but I agree that's the only way they can really do it. And I mean, that's going to be weird to see a Pyromancer played as support. Prefer her obviously as more of a side carrier, even a middle hero and whatnot. But Midas basically you have to play a certain way, so you can't really get away from that. But the question is, how are they going to lane it as far as which lanes are going to go? And I expect Midas to perhaps solo top, I would assume, with Kraken.
Yeah.
Actually, they could do it either way. I mean, like you said, the Cthulhu Font Demented Shaman is such a disgustingly good combination. Wow. So Legionnaire picked up, who we saw in the first, I think it was the first series, right?
Yes, I believe we did see it in the, I want to say yesterday, with the TDM versus Lion matchup. I believe TDM played it, and again, we've done so many casts lately. They're all sort of blend together, it seems like, but I know we did see it at this event. So, but yeah, so picked up here by Trademark Esports with that final pick. Definitely excited to see that. Of course, going to be played by Tralfamador, and I can't wait. Unfortunately, we don't have our Phil the Thrill Legionnaire analyst on, but we have started to see him more and more, so definitely picking up more and more on how he's actually played and how big of an impact he can actually be in terms of being played on the competitive scene. So going to be played here by Trademark Esports with that final pick, and of course you expect him to be in the jungle, so more than likely have something like a Glacius Forsaken lane, and then having Torture and Tundra play as the solos would be my guess, but we'll see ultimately how it just turns, or how it actually plays out here for Trademark Esports. But the thing with Legionnaire, you know, he needs to get off to a great start. He definitely needs to be pretty active early on, taking advantage of that charge, getting in there, setting up some ganks, and we have seen him take off. But at the same time, we've also seen him, you know, not really do much for your team, if anything. So, but again, being played by Tralfamador, I think I'd say we're pretty confident that at least we're going to get something out of him.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be gank happy, obviously. And then looking at their lineup, they obviously have the best late game between these two teams. It's not even close, for that matter. So expect MSI to be ultra aggressive, depending on how their lanes are going to be set up. I mean, even that Demented Shaman Cthulhu Font lane, it's aggressive in its own right. And once Midas gets a certain level, he can actually start getting into the fight as well. And then the Kraken, I think, is the most important hero for them. He's going to be the one dealing the most damage. He's playing kind of the same role that Zephyr played in the first game for them, as far as the Demented Shaman matchup with him. So, actually, I guess it's Demented Shaman Cthulhu Font, like I said. But when it gets to the mid game, I think the Demented Shaman survivability factor is just enormous. Going along with the heal from Midas, so double heal action going on there. That's not quite the quad heal, but at least it's the same ratio.
Sure, yeah. But yeah, it is still going to be very annoying to deal with, as you know, Cthulhu Font just in general is just a very annoying hero to deal against. I mean, let alone if you have the heals or not. Just with that hook him ability, he can charge in, use that hook him, and not only slow you, but it seems like nearly impossible to kill, especially in that mid to late game phase when he gets a good amount of farm. So we'll see how the lanes advance on, though. Again, with them being able to hear us, can't talk too much about what we're seeing just yet. But as soon as you know, the lanes start to actually happen, we can start discussing them and talk about what we're actually seeing right here. So it looks like in the middle lane, it is going to be a Torturer versus a Midas. So it ends up being a 1 versus 1, Swindamelons versus No-Tail here. Again, No-Tail coming off a struggling game with the Torture Tundra matchup, surprisingly enough, against Moonmeter last game. We'll see how he recovers this time around, see what he can make happen. But the bottom lane is really the interesting one. We got Cthulhu Font, Demented Shaman, and also, as we saw, Pyromancer, at least initially nearby. So for Tundra, definitely going to be a lot of trouble for him. But yeah, what do you make of the lane so far here, Suns fan?
Well, yeah, the bottom lane is very interesting. The fact that, well, first of all, Moonmeander is not on Tundra after just spanking MSI with that hero last game. So switching it up a little bit, maybe they just don't want to play, you know, don't want to get too stale. They just want to have fun. You know, I mean, that's fine. I'm fine with that. But he wasn't going to go mid, apparently, which actually would have been pretty good this game, considering that they're only going to have Midas as a solo, because they didn't really want to match up that Demented Shaman and Cthulhu Font combination with Tundra. But in the end, it ends up being the laning phase anyway. So it's going to be these two versus Tundra. That's going to be a lot of damage coming out for Tundra. And for people that don't know, Cthulhu, when he charges, he takes the creeps with him, which is why it's such a powerful combination on top of that Demented Shaman heal. So definitely going to see some early kills there, I would presume. But yeah, the Torture versus Midas lane is going to be really, really interesting. The fact that I think Torture definitely has
the top side. Pyromancer in a lot of trouble. Bloodlust kill going to come out for Trademark Esports right there. So Legionnaire showing that he is actually in the Hellborn jungle on the baby time. You got to love that. As Tralfamador actually gets credit for the kill right there, but they found Pyromancer off into the jungle, still level 1, and able to set up that Bloodlust kill. So Tralfamador, a great start for him. And we'll see how he's going to be able to use, especially that Bloodlust kill, and whether or not he also sticks around in that Hellborn jungle.
Well, so far this last second Pyro pick isn't working out the greatest, considering they tried to get first blood at bottom, but nothing came of it because Tundra was being a little bit passive, so played very smart there. And you see him getting caught off, like you said, level 1, not a whole lot he can do, or she can do. I mean, I can't stand these alt avatars. I can never, it's a he or she has a hermaphrodite.
Female,
just call them all hermaphrodites
everything
at the end of the day.
Yeah, so Pyromancer being played by Fly, of course, unfortunately for him, getting caught out, but now back at that top lane, going to be there to babysit this Kraken again. Kind of an interesting lane combination, but in the end, we'll see how it ultimately works out for them. You still got Demented Shaman actually down here at the bottom lane, just doing the things on his own, it seems like, kind of just farming what he can. As now, as you can see, Kraken has actually moved towards the bottom, and so, excuse me, there, possible change coming up here. From Fnatic MSI. It still remains Midas versus Torture, obviously in the middle lane, but as you can see from the GPM chart, seems to be a pretty even back and forth battle between these two heroes against Swindamelons versus No-Tail there. You look at the creep farm again, pretty back and forth, perhaps a slight favor for Midas, but nothing to be too disappointed about if you're a Torture at the same time. So, but as far as the rune control goes as well, we saw earlier Tundra was actually able to get the regen rune before Midas was able to get down there to pick it up himself. And does he even have a bottle? Yes, of course he does have a bottle, which is actually currently empty. But now we can see Cthulhu Fun has actually moved to the top lane. So Fnatic MSI is doing some switch up here, taking a lot of pressure right there, though, after using the Hook'em ability. And going to be forced to fall back between that Forsaken Archer and Glacius lane up top here. In the middle lane, in the meantime, Legionnaire actually getting caught out. Going to charge on a Pyromancer using the taunt, but he's in a lot of trouble right now. Demented Shaman and Midas are nearby, but Legionnaire is already level 5. He's pretty damn tanky. Torture diving up there as well, trying to assist with him, but Tralfamador will be able to get away, actually, despite diving completely past the first tower right there in the middle lane.
Yeah, I really like what MSI did at the beginning here, actually, is Demented Shaman is helping out a little bit in mid, but I like the fact that they changed it up right off the bat. Cthulhu Font, Demented Shaman is going to probably be the combination at top. They want to control that Forsaken Archer because that is basically the late game for TDM at this point, and that's pretty clear for the most part. So expect that to continue aggression on her. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if TDM just counters that by putting Forsaken Archer bottom because, I mean, Tundra, although won't have the easiest time against that combination, still has a lot of survivability with the kiting factor of Co-Earl and whatnot, and obviously the tankability of just being a strength hero. So I wouldn't be surprised for him to change that up completely. Because Forsaken Archer is farming pretty well here based on the fact that Cthulhu Font is alone right now. So once Demented Shaman actually comes back into the fray, expect them to be a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, Forsaken Archer is definitely getting some decent time up here at that top side, but Cthulhu Font, that's the thing with that hero, you know. As you know, you got your Glacius Forsaken Archer, definitely double stun potential, but not necessarily looking to use it because on a Cthulhu Font, you're not really going to kill him, especially if he has the mana to charge away. So not even wasting the mana pool, trying to invest it into going on for a kill. But we're now entering the 5.5 minute mark here. Still remains a 1-0 hero kill advantage in favor of Trademark Esports. Of course, again, that kill coming at the top lane, as or the top jungle, I should say. As obviously Tralfamador on Legionnaire able to set up that gank, but Midas dropping about half life. A little bit of trouble, in comes a charge from Legionnaire. There's a decapitate right on top of him, and quickly falls Midas right there. So another great gank setup from Tralfamador. Stressed it from the beginning, and we're definitely seeing it. Legionnaire is doing a fantastic job of moving around, getting the Bloodlust kill, getting a second kill right there in that middle lane. You see Pyromancer only level 2 coming in, missing the stun actually. And Legionnaire says, what you gonna do now? Absolutely nothing, that is right. And will fall back as Torture activates the Impalement. Glacius throwing in the auto attacks, and they're going for the defensive tower and will kill it right here. So Legionnaire playing very aggressive early on. That's a scary sign for Fnatic MSI. Yeah,
he's doing exactly what you need to do. I mean, that gank was set up perfectly. I mean, look at Pyromancer, like you said, level 2 Pyromancer. Lego, I think it was level 6, obviously got that decapitate, almost level 7 at this point, so just not, it's really not even close in this early stage of the game. We haven't seen this combination of Demented Shaman Cthulhu Font do anything yet, which is surprising considering that Forsaken Archer is all alone up here. So questioning what that's all about, but yeah, Midas is going to allow, I mean, he's going to get a little bit of free farm now, the solo XP with the lane being pushed up and whatnot, but obviously as top lane, actually, there's the combination we're talking about. Looks like Forsaken Archer will get killed thanks to Nova's last hit on that Demented Shaman, so a good start for them. They need to keep that up because Lego is going to take over this game if he continues to gank at the pace he's been doing.
Yeah, so that's a great kill there on to Forsaken Archer. You mentioned, unfortunately, I just got the tail end of that, but obviously that charge in for Cthulhu Font setting up the healing wave, and not much Forsaken Archer can do, especially by himself. So just that very powerful combination coming into play. And that's the other thing, too. If you're going to pick up the Cthulhu Font Demented Shaman lane combination, you have to be successful. You have to at least get some hero kills with it, or else I think it's honestly fair to say that you can deem it unsuccessful no matter how much farm you get. I mean, because Cthulhu Font isn't a farming hero. He's not, we keep on stressing the few times that we've seen him, but he's not a hero that's going to take off like crazy. I mean, sure, he can keep getting more tanky and tanky, but ultimately, you know, what does that accomplish in the end? So really needs to get those hero kills, really struggling, making things struggle for Moon Meteor in this case on Forsaken Archer. But as we can see, after that death, he said, screw it, not going to deal with that lane. Goes to the bottom lane now, as you were kind of talking about earlier, and now Forsaken Archer going to get some free farm down here, at least for the time being. But Swindamelon's on Torture. He's had a fantastic start as well, especially with that gank set up by Tralfamador on Legionnaire, able to get some help in the middle lane, the kill on the Midas, and definitely giving him a very solid advantage in that middle lane. So things looking pretty solid right now for TD, and actually all 3 games now have actually been a pretty good start here for Trademark Esports. Again, remember the first game was as well. Unfortunately, didn't work out for them in the end, but the second game definitely did. And now the third game, we'll see how it turns out this time for Trademark.
Yep, and as you see, like you were talking about, Forsaken Archer now at bottom, so expect the Demented Shaman Cthulhu Font, the feared Demented Shaman Cthulhu Font combination to go back bottom at some point. Because, like you said, Cthulhu Font free farming or top, who cares? You know, he's just going to be a fat mess that can't do anything in the end if he's just tanking and not actually getting any kills with that Demented Shaman combination. So you don't want to waste that. And of course, Lego being level 8 at this point, just disgusting amount of farm on him. Obviously, can't talk about his farm because he hasn't really come out of the jungle yet. But regardless, I mean, Pyromancer literally just hit level 3 and is at the beginning stages of level 3 right now. So that is not working out at all at this point for MSI. Which, I mean, that was a very questionable pick. And like you were talking about with the countdown, it was like a last-second pick. So there's a little, you could hear them debating in the background whether they wanted to do that or not. So questionable to say the least.
Well, and that's the very interesting thing too. This is Fly that we're talking about. You know, he keeps getting world-renowned, greatest picker and banner in the world, and as far as when it comes to the banning stage. So. You know, waiting until the last minute though, but clearly that pick hasn't worked out so far. But Legionnaire taunting in right now on top of Demented Shaman. He'll fall easily, expected to decapitate any second. There we go, the decapitate as well. And Trophimidor indeed is a serial killer right now. He is 3-0-1 to get things kicked off here. A great collapse from Trademark Esports in that middle lane happening. So very, very well done right there from Trademark Esports. And again, while that's happening, Forsaken Archer recovering some perhaps not the greatest farm at the top lane, but ever since she's moved down bottom here, again, as you can see by the GPM chart and the stats as well, is definitely starting to recover. And Moon Meter on that Forsaken Archer is looking pretty good right now. So I must say for Fnatic MSI, it really is that Pyromancer, that Cthulhu Font lane. You know, ultimately it doesn't seem like it's working out perhaps as they expected. And this is not a team that could rely on, you know, falling behind early on. I mean, you look at, I don't even know if we've really stressed that, but this is not a team that's going to be able to, you know, recover and farm and just be able to say, oh, well, at least we have our Mage Bane or our Scout or whatever. And, you know, in the end, you know, it might not matter due to this struggling start, but they don't have any hero that they can rely on to say, at least he's getting farm and he can take over. So I think MSI is actually in a pretty dangerous situation right now. And it is going to be interesting to see how they try to fight their way out of it. And by the way, crippling volley on him at the bottom lane. Dimension Shaman's there by Culture coming in. He's going to pour it out. Expect the avalanche though in 2 seconds. Is not just out. The transmute going to be used. Now can they chase it out? There's the avalanche coming out. The Unbreakable has wore off now, but here comes the reaction with Albertine. A nice relay stock Kraken, and down goes Tundra right there. So a great return from Fnatic MSI and Glacius Z-Freak. I love you, man, but you are not living through that. So down he goes as well.
Why is it always Glacius somewhere in the middle of nowhere? Just getting pounded by somebody. But yeah, like you said, MSI needs to do something, and there you see the great counter initiation there, actually getting a couple kills, so turning that completely around. And that's exactly what they need. I mean, I stressed exactly what you just said. They have absolutely very little late game, and they can't go against this. I mean, looking at their lanes, like the Demented Shaman Cthulhu Font, level 2, you should be at least getting the opposing heroes very low that they have to go back to the fountain, if not getting a kill. So in that aspect, those picks have failed thus far. Obviously, the Demented Shaman's going to be great throughout the game just because you have a Kraken to go with that. But then you have Midas, who's now level 8. Expect him to actually start participating in team fights a little bit more often because they need to be more aggressive in this mid-game stage. But, I mean, that Legionnaire, who we haven't seen since that second or third gank, he's just been farming like crazy, and expect him to just take off here.
Yeah, definitely expect him to take off. I mean, he went for the early Ghost Marchers. We'll see how he progresses in terms of his actual items. I mean, you talked about Midas. Speaking of Midas, because it jumps on right here. Are we going to see that decapitate? No, he did not do enough for the kill. He used it a second early, and as a result, Midas lives. So like, obviously, the thing with decapitate, you need to use it in this case when it's at 300 life or less, but he just had a little bit more than 300 life, so it did the damage rather than chopping off his head. And Midas actually stayed alive right there. But we did see, of course, Legionnaire having the Portakey now, meanwhile at the bottom lane, Cthulhu find a lot of trouble. There's the initiation on top, and he got completely locked down. Could not charge away whatsoever, and so they get a kill at the bottom lane, and now going to do another tower push down here. I don't think Fnatic MSI is going to be able to defend this, honestly, especially with Cthulhu Font dead. This tower is already dropping at just about half life. It's a 4-man push right here for Trademark Esports. They don't have Legionnaire, but still feeling very confident in getting another tower kill, only now coming up to the 13-minute mark. So there we go. And again, momentum continues here for Trademark Esports, looking very, very, very good for them.
This is a really crucial point for MSI. And I mean, not to reiterate what we've both said already, is LEGO just continue to farm here, but they have to do something in the next, like if this continues at this pace for the next 10 minutes, it's going to be almost out of reach. because they just have no late game to speak of. So, I mean, the Kraken's going to be helpful. I mean, the team fight's always going to be there, but, I mean, Pyromancer is just useless at this point, which is really unfortunate considering how the laning phase is gone. And the Cthulhu, I mean, he's just useless for the most part in general, so, other than the laning phase. And they haven't done anything in that respect. I mean, he has 1 assist this game, 0 kills. So, I mean, it's a risky pick. I mean, we saw it in the first game against Online Kingdom when they picked it. It wasn't the worst pickup considering they actually did something with it. Yeah. But the game lasted like 80 minutes, and at that point, he's just a piece of meat. So, unless you get some ridiculous items on him, like a Maca Brilliance, like I've talked about, where you're going to do a lot of damage considering you're going to stay alive. You're going to be the last one standing. But at this rate, it's just, I mean, they can't continue at this rate, basically.
No, they can't whatsoever, and that's where it becomes the decision time for Fnatic MSI. You know, do they continue to kind of play this more passive style of game? Sitting back, in fact, we see right here, Cthulhu gets jumped by Legionnaire. There's a follow-up chain reaction stun. Dementia Chama trying to get there in time, throws out the healing wave. You see Cthulhu charging away, and will be fine in the end. So, again, showing off his tanky presence here earlier on. A Helm of the Black Legion picked up, but you just see the power of the initiation right there from this Legionnaire, especially with that portal key pickup. And by the way, now a Helm of the Black Legion on himself. So he's going to continue to scatter. Look at him. He spots Midas right there. Midas ran past the Word of Revelation. He completely guessed with that taunt and was successful. What an excellent play from Tralfamador. Now, he had to be out of range at that time. That was just simply, he was there, so might as well taunt and see if he can catch him. And he caught Midas, the auto attack coming out of the invis as a result, and they got the kill. Fantastic heads up right there.
I think we can finally talk about the portal key on Lego, which he picked up like 3 minutes ago. So he's had it for a while, so his farm is insane at this point. And that's just one of those heroes that we've seen time and time again, especially on, say, Busca. I think is the, I'd say, arguably, other than Phil the Thrill, of course, the best Axe, or the best Legionnaire in the game.
Yes,
but
of course.
He's definitely a snowball hero. I mean, it's a little bit harder to take off with him compared to like a Pebbles or whatnot, but at this rate, he is just going to completely take off, and he's already doing so. So it's really, this is so tough for MSI to come back from this. And I hate to say that considering that they're the comeback kings or comeback kids, whatever you want to call them, but given their lineup, it's just going to be really tough.
It is, and you know, again, for a great series we've had so far, you know, going into the third game, we expect, if anything, for it to just be that tight back and forth and very, very close. But obviously, it is a huge, huge momentum boost here for TDM. You see Legionnaire right there trying to make a little bit of a move, but I saw the port coming in, so decided it was best to actually portal key out as soon as possible. But Forsaken Archer, been very, very quiet, honestly, in terms of, again, she didn't have the greatest start at that top lane. The Cthulhu lane was causing some troubles from her when they adjusted, but ever since she's gone bottom with the push and everything else, again, you look at the GPM chart, we see the items on her now. She's on her way towards a Shrunken Head pickup, which will continue to be fantastic for him. And looking very, very good in that sense. Now Kraken in the meantime going to get taunted on by Legionnaire right here. Where's the Decapitate? There's a Decapitate going off despite the healing wave attempt from Dementia Shaman. Not nearly enough. Cthulhu though charging in, seeing what he can make happen. As Midas put in as well. He gets the kill, but at what cost right there? Dies in the end. Release the Kraken, not making too much. Pyromancer will fall right here as well. The Glacial Downpour going to be used as cancelled by the Cthulhu on charge. Such a difficult name to say, especially in rapid succession. But they get the kill onto the big elephant, and Kraken will just fall back, not being able to do much else. So Forsaken and Glacius did fall right there. Didn't even notice Forsaken fall, but 3 are still alive, and the 1 for the Hellborn team. So they're going to continue this push, of course. Legionnaire is out of mana, but he's just going to go to the next creep. He doesn't even care about Kraken. I mean, he just runs on by. Maybe we'll care a little bit once the torrent goes out, but they're going to push the secondary tower, and I do not think TDM is going to be able to stop this unless they have invulnerability. I don't even know if it's up now. Yeah, they're going to get this tower kill easily. Nice deny by Trixie right there, so at least something positive for MSI. But still, damage definitely done by TDM. You see Tralfamador responding right there. Ooh, Tundra, perhaps a wrong decision, trying to port out when he perhaps shouldn't have, but he's just going to walk away, and we'll be fine. But Trademark just expands their lead even that much more.
Yeah, Kraken actually bought back in that fight, so that's 1 buyback gone already. And I mean, in hindsight, it wasn't a good buyback considering he couldn't really defend that. I mean, he did get the deny, but I don't think that's fair trade as far as, you know, since you only have a 2 max buyback in this game. But yeah, the Lego initiation was huge, and I mean, they did get Forsaken Archer. I hope she's not going for Shrunken Head. I hate seeing Shrunken Head this early on a hero. You're probably sick and tired of me talking about this. Last time we guess I talked about it for like 30 minutes. But yeah, I'm just not a big fan of that. So hopefully.
Well, she did go Shieldbreaker, so she turned the Warhammer into Shieldbreaker, and now she's And she could, obviously, you know, Ice Beam wouldn't make sense because she already has the attack modifier, so still very likely may go for the Shrunken Head, but more so, I do wonder, though, if that was just a, you know what, we have a pretty good lead, might as well just get more damage output rather than that Shrunken Head survivability, but she did go Shieldbreaker instead, so probably will at least finish that off, and then maybe the Shrunken Head after, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's good to see. I hope she continues to upgrade that, but I mean, I'm not going to say it counters Cthulhu, but any hero with the Helm of Black Legion obviously going to be huge against, and Cthulhu being completely useless at this point is just going to add insult to injury, but it's going to be an uphill battle for, I mean, at this point, MSI just has to have perfect initiation. They have to have perfect team fights, and they only have one outer tower at this point at the 18.5-minute mark.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a team in TDM that has, they've pushed the crap out of these towers, and they have the late game. So that's why, I mean, not to say it again, but this game is getting close to out of reach for MSI. I mean, looking at the, I mean, we can't talk about the Golden, I mean, the Golden Experience leader quite a bit at this point, but the kills 11-5, it's not that big of a deal. It's just the manner in which they've been picked up. I mean, the MSI has been getting kills here and there in team fights. It's like kind of like stragglers, if you will.
Yeah.
And TDM's just been cleaning up for the most part.
Well, it's also the tower pushing, obviously. You got your 5 tower kills to none in favor of TDM, and I got the damage tab pulled up right now, and that definitely tells the story in itself right there. I mean, no one on the Hellborn team has more hero damage done this game than the least amount on the Legion side, and that just goes to tell you, you know, again, just the power that this Legion team is working with in terms of initiation and in terms of getting involved. We see Torch, or Legionnaire in the meantime right there. He didn't actually time, he was doing a cancel, so he still has that cooldown ready to go, but obviously the Hellborn team, especially Cthulhu Fawn, doing what he can to be in the front lines, fending them off, as I believe he actually ate the Shiver right there with his Hokum ability, so got a little bit hungry, might as well.
Delicious.
I'm sure it was delicious for him. But Legionnaire now at the bottom lane, so screw it, I don't want to just sit there not doing anything. We'll farm up the bottom lane, get it pushed up, but here we go with the tower push, and vulnerability used right away right there by MSI, so again, it shows you really how scared they are. Excuse me. And again, how, you know, perhaps how much they have to be, but the Legion team just waiting for that sweet spot, waiting for that right moment to actually go in. But for now, it doesn't look like they may not find it, so we'll see what happens from here. But we're just only over 20 minutes into the game, and to see the differences like this with the gold, with the experience, and that 5-0 hero or tower kill advantage in favor of TDM is just so overwhelming at this point. And, you know, this is a case of TDM where obviously they lost that first game. You figure, especially after them getting 0-2'd by Lion, the Lion looked very impressive in that series yesterday. And TDM, you know, they were kind of discouraged. You know, talking to them after and seeing their reactions after, they were definitely discouraged. Coming into this series, you know, losing the first game, you know, me personally, I'm not going to lie, I wasn't expecting much to come of TDM, but they proved me 100% wrong in that game too, and they're in a very good spot now here in this third game, as we see Legionnaire, though, kind of toying with Midas. Actually, Release the Kraken going to be coming out, but Legionnaire very, very tanky, surviving the initial brunt of this damage, but not going to be nearly enough in the end, as Pyromancer jumps in with his ulti, and that gotcha indeed. So Legionnaire perhaps a little bit too confident there, ends up getting caught out, and Glacius, it's Glacius again. Z-Freak being chased, no, don't kill him. He's going to run into the Wild Hunters, try to maybe get them to kill him, but oh my god, he just bugged the game right there. You gotta love it. Oh, Glacius just completely S2'd MSI right there, and he gets away. Oh, I love it.
That is awesome, and the crap talk to go with it, so that's always good to see. But I mean, MSI has decent team fight in the fact that they have quite a bit of burst damage with Pyromancer finally hitting level 10, so once it's level 11, expect that in combination with like a Midas to instigate somebody on the other team. So in that aspect, they can, as long as they have good initiation, good things can happen. But I mean, looking at TDM side, a couple nullstones looks like they're being worked on, as we saw during that fight, both in Legionnaire and Torturer. So expect that to come in the coming minutes, since they are farming a lot right now. But it's interesting to see what TDM strategy is going to be, considering that they're up right now. You said like the Starcraft idiom, or whatever you want to call it. Basically, once you're up, you want to continue to be, you want to step on their throat, so to speak. But they, I mean, at this point, I think that is the strategy you have to go with. I mean, they have the option to just stay for late game, get the farm of Forsaken Archer and whatnot, but I think at this point, since you push these towers so far, you don't want to allow them to farm that up, since the lanes are so pushed. So I agree that they need to step on their throat. They need to be more. They need to continue to be aggressive and finish this game earlier than later.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that, and you know, we have the advantage, you might as well take it, as I like to say. But you got your Forsaken Archer, now level 3 Shieldbreaker finish. And by the way, you were talking about Fly there a little bit on the Pyromancer, and how in fact he is level 11 now. he deserves a huge.
Yeah, what happened there?
I know, seriously. I remember he's level 3 or something like that very early on in this game, and it was really struggling, but he's recovered immensely. By the way, we have a big team fight coming on right here. Legionnaire Tana in the meantime, everyone else cracking getting caught. Gets him, release the Kraken off though. Trying to save that, will charge out, will survive in the end. And now the Prominence are ultimately used on Torture. Look at that turnaround from Fnatic MSI. An excellent turnaround for them. Cut through the fun, even being useful with his ultimate activated, doing as much damage as possible. Now Midas did get taken out, but a 2-for-1 exchange in favor of Fnatic MSI. I must say, a very good return rate from them right there. Kraken thought he was going to drop, but he got the release of Kraken off. Nice heals from Demented Shaman at the last second and was able to charge on out of there. So for TDM, weren't able to execute that the best. I know Tralfamador, he ended up jumping and taunting on a couple of other heroes in the background, but in the end, it just didn't work out for them.
Yeah, I think they need to focus more on who they're going to target, better communication on exactly who they're going for. Because you don't want to go for a Kraken. You don't want to go for. I mean, Kraken's going to do his damage, and he's going to be hard to kill unless you can take him off in like one swoop, so to speak. But I think that's not really feasible at this point in the game. And Cthulhu being just a fat mess, like we talked about ad nauseum, can't go for him. So I think the other three, any of those three, are actually great targets as far as Pyromancer, Demented Shaman, and Midas. But I'd say Demented Shaman being the lowest level and being the hero that they're relying on for survivability, perhaps initiate onto him, or any of the other two, actually. I mean, any of those three, as long as it's not a strength hero, then it's fine by me. But I think that's what happened there is Kraken ended up getting, it was a 3v1 basically, he didn't die. So, I mean, that shows volumes how much survivability this team has at this point. Yeah,
they definitely do between him and Cthulhu Fun, and then Dimension Shaman throwing out the, of course, of Midas, throwing out his heals. So they definitely can live if they can survive the brunt damage coming out from the beginning. But so some signs of life there definitely for Fnatic MSI. But while things are happening, Forsaken Archer just continues to get bigger and bigger. So that's where things get pretty difficult here. For this Hellborn team in terms of at least staying alive. I mean, you got your Sheepstick now finished on Torturer, another fantastic item to have. And, for Swinamels, he definitely won that middle lane. Yes, he got some great help, so nothing wrong with that, though. It is a team game after all, so if it means getting some help to win your lane, then by all means. So, but getting him an early on Sheepstick, going to be huge to use as always, as you would think. And then you got your Tundra, who's been having a great game all throughout. He's going more of a support aura build, Plated Greaves, and then the Soul's Bulwark. Still very powerful items to have. But we'll see if TDM keeps its pressure up now.
I think I said Lego was going to pick up a Nullstone, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be another Sheepstick, actually. So having double Sheepstick is going to be just disgusting. And that's going to allow them to CC those two here. I mean, that's the great thing about the any CC ability as far as Sheepstick's concerned. It's going to take away the Helm of Black Legion effect, so not going to be as tanky as far as Kraken and Cthulhu are concerned. So great to see, and I do like the pickup of Shieldbreaker. I don't think we did talk about that, but the fact with Split Shot on Forsaken Archer can actually go through multiple people, and there we have initiation onto Midas. There's the where is this actually? The Kraken coming actually going to affect quite a bit of people here. There's the insta-get from Pyromancer. There's still a lot of burst damage coming here. You see that high level of Pyromancer coming into effect, somehow coming back in this game. Torture is going to get targeted here. He's going to try to run away. So right now, the team fight capability from MSI is actually coming into effect. As Cthulhu not going to get targeted. Somehow Forsaken Archer is still alive in the back, just pounding on people here. Yeah, and Tundra is going to try to apply political pressure. And there, Trixie taking a lot of damage, most likely, I would assume, get killed here. Going to try to TP out, but unfortunately the taunt's going to be too much for Lego, and that's going to be yet another kill. So, I mean, back and forth fight there. I thought that was pretty even to begin with. Basically a 2-for-3 exchange, but the DPS from Forsaken Archer, being able to just stand in the back there and pound on people is just not acceptable.
Well, the biggest thing about that fight was the Storm Spirit that was recently picked up on Pyromancer. We've talked about them before. In fact, when we did see it in the series, again, I believe it was yesterday or the day before. But anyways, when we saw Legionnaire, we brought up the point, Storm Spirit is a very good item to have against a hero like Legionnaire, because if he jumps in and taunts and then the Storm Spirit's used, and all of a sudden that CC becomes 100% useless, obviously. And that was the case right there. Midas got thrown up in the air. We saw the release, the Kraken came out, and Legionnaire just got melted, surprisingly enough. Now, he did buy back ultimately and came back and fought them in the end. So, that proved to be a good turning point. But you also mentioned Forsaken Archer just sat in the background, dishing out a lot of damage herself, and ultimately winning the fight in the end, I guess you could say, for Trademark Esports, as of course they got the tower kill on top of that. So another solid fight for Fnatic MSI. But in the end, just wasn't enough, despite their coordination and despite them doing everything they could do, it seemed like, to actually survive and make happen what they happened. But Cthulhu Font, he was doing his thing. activating that obliterate ability with his ultimate and dishing out as much damage as possible, but again, just wasn't enough. So Kongor, of course, is still up. We're now 28 minutes into the game. We'll see if Kongor becomes a play here for either side between TDM and Fnatic MSI. Again, a quick recap, guys. This is game 3 here in this best of 3. So this is the third and final game of this third place matchup between these two teams, where the winning team will get $5,000 of the prize pool. The losing team only coming out with $2,000, but still a good chunk of change right there. So definitely competing for a lot of money right now. Forsaken Archer, by the way, has been struck ahead, but main news right here. Can she? No, she will not. Just too much quick damage coming out. Nice coordination from Fnatic MSI, and Moonmeter on that Forsaken Archer actually melts at that bottom lane. So as far behind as MSI has been throughout this game, we keep on stressing that, they are doing what they need to do to slowly but surely start to make a comeback. Again, you just have to wonder, will it be enough in the end?
I mean, the problem is they haven't pushed any towers. So, I mean, these kills are nice. I mean, I'm pretty sure Moonmeter had no money to speak of at that point because he had just finished his Shrunken Head. But either way, it's a nice gank. But you see the power from Midas coming out. I mean, that's all you really need. That CC ability, the fact that he has so much burst damage. Team has the Astrolabe, so now they have basically a triple heal, kind of a la their first game where they dominated. So nice to see that survivability coming out, but it's still an uphill battle for MSI. We haven't really seen Lego do a whole lot since, I'm sure he's just working on I'm assuming the sheep stick at this point. So perhaps waiting for that item to start being a little bit more aggressive again, because I feel like he's kind of tapered off a little bit. I'm not going to say tapered off, but hasn't been as aggressive as he was during the early stage of the game. With this lead, I think you need to, like we've talked about, just continue the pressure here and not let MSI get back in this game.
Yeah, and we'll see if they do look to do that, or if they continue to kind of sit back more so that they've been doing recently. I mean, they do have some bigger items as a result of doing that, but it is giving MSI that chance, it seems like, to make a little bit of a comeback, gain some momentum themselves, and see what they can make happen. But some nice counter warding going on right here by Z-Freak, and you see right there that ward of sight gets taken out in TDM's favor. So as far as MSI is concerned, not really showing themselves on the map right now, but going to kind of wander around and see what they can make happen here. But it is now a 15-12 hero kill advantage in favor of Trademark Esports. You're looking at just over an 11,000 gold lead, about a 3,000 experience advantage in favor of TDM right now. So, but as far as MSI, again, kind of just wandering around, looking for something to do. You see Torture now in the middle lane as Legionnaire going to jump in on top of Pyromancer, actually, and they're going to try to quickly drop him. The Avalanche used as well, and Pyromancer will, and there we go, in fact, should fall in the end. Legionnaire actually did end up using a Decapitate right there as a result of that, but Midas with the transmute on a Tundra barely surviving. Not long enough, though. The Glacial downpour, the Forsaken Archer ultimate used. Glacius goes down, however. Legionnaire coming in with the taunt as Midas will fall, but Forsaken Archer sitting there with that Shrunken Head activated, just pounding in damage. However, Cthulhu is now on her ass, and now she needs to be in a little bit of trouble as Legionnaire barely surviving. There goes the kill to Forsaken Archer. Legionnaire barely getting away with the portal key, it looks like, as Kraken still thinking about chasing, but he gets on the hell on out of there. But Fnatic MSI winning that fight in the end. So Cthulhu fought Demented Shaman and Kraken coming through right there and keeping them alive and winning the fight. Wow.
Well,
did not see that coming.
Look who's still alive with no mana because they used it all in that fight, is Demented Shaman. So basically it was kind of an isolated fight where it was split into two, and they focused on Pyromancer, which is fine. But you leave a Demented Shaman, which is giving so much survivability. I mean, look, basically no mana to speak of on Demented Shaman right now. So you can see how many spells he used in that fight. And I think that was the difference. As 1v1 battle, we saw Cthulhu the Elephant just stomping Forsaken Archer thanks to that charge. But if it wasn't for Demented Shaman, I don't think it would have been even close. But I mean, that's the power of this. You have to choose who you're going to go for.
Yeah.
And if you're going for Pyromancer, you're basically getting rid of a lot of that burst damage, but you still have a lot of that survivability with Midas and Demented Shaman. So in hindsight, I think, for me at least, since I was saying either of those three, I'd go for a Midas or a Demented Shaman, preferably Demented Shaman, considering that he has the most survivability of any of the heroes on their team. So we'll see what happens in the upcoming fight. But yeah, MSI is definitely, they're doing better in these team fights, but it's still an uphill battle considering they still don't have one tower yet.
You always got to be Mr. Negative, don't you?
I know, that's what they call me.
That is it continues to be a very good point, though, that the fact that they still don't have a tower kill is definitely hurting perhaps any type of momentum that they're getting from perhaps winning these team fights. But it does go back to what you're talking about there. When we saw in that last team fight, their target of choice and the initiation from TDM, it has been very scattered. Legionnaire seems to be going to one place and the rest of the team going elsewhere, and as a result, it hasn't been the most successful. at least in these last couple of team fights here for Trademark Esports. So we'll see if that maybe changes in this next upcoming team fight with them, focusing down that same target, or if they continue to do the scatter strategy and hope for the best. But I will say, obviously, as far as Legionnaire is concerned, he was working on that sheep stick, and so we'll see if he actually gets that finished in the near future. But that will just be another CC tool that Trademark Esports will be able to use. Then you got Cthulhu Font. I mean, being the tank that he is, he's got a portal key himself. Helm of the Black Legion, Shaman's Edge with portal key, play degree. It's got everything. You got Kraken pretty much the same way. So this is going to be another case of just them being very annoying to deal against, very, very powerful. And this is the duo that they had in that in their match against Online Kingdom, going back to that game 1, and it definitely made the game, it seemed like, last forever, because they're just so difficult to kill. So I'm not saying this one's going to last forever, but just putting that out there in terms of relationship with the two. But we're now 34 minutes in, and
when you have Cthulhu Font, the game could last forever because he just sits there taking so much damage. But
seems like it.
I mean, I'm just questioning what TDM's going to do here. Are they happy with just farming at this point? I mean, again, no towers have been taken by MSI, so they obviously have the gold advantage. And as I say that, the tower gets killed at bottom. Trelfendor not able to deny that in time. As you see, him actually has a sheep stick, so finishing that finally. I say finally, of course, he is super farmed at this point. So I expect a little bit more aggression from TDM at this point now that they have some items. I mean, Forsaken Archer is the one to really look at here. Obviously has that Shrunken, has the shield breaker, but as we see, Trelfendor showing off his amazing stop animation skills there. But Forsaken Archer, the question is, what is she going to go for next? I mean, more DPS, more survivability. I mean, I honestly feel like the best item you can get on Forsaken Archer is a Savage Mace, just because of that. The split fire is just ridiculous.
I think the pure damage route, it just makes so much sense here. In this case, ooh, Legionnaire right there. That was actually a real taunt, trying to catch Cthulhu Font, but unsuccessful with that. So Fresh Pro able to get away right there on the Cthulhu Font. As you see, Forsaken Archer now kind of exposing herself too. But as far as what she would go for, I do think the Savage Mace, especially again, you're going up against this Kraken. This Cthulhu Font is just so survivability heavy. You're not necessarily the most worried about the biggest damage output on yourself. I mean, she's got the Shrunken Head, and that in itself is enough in terms of stopping your Pyromancer, who's throwing out a lot of that burst damage. Of course, you got Cthulhu Font with his CC and the Obliterate that he uses. A lot of magic coming out from that. So as long as he can activate that Shrunken Head, should be fine. As you see, I believe that was the middle tower denied right there by Z-Freak. So a couple of towers starting to go down now in favor of MSI.
And the creeps were the ones that pushed them, funnily enough, actually.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, you got your Savage Mace, you got your Geometer's Bane. There's definitely some very valid options right there. So we'll see what Moon Meter decides to go for on Forsaken Archer. But I definitely think the more damage-focused route makes the most sense.
Yeah.
I guess there's not many other options, to be honest. It could go Nullstone, but that would just be not really make too much sense. So, yeah, we'll see what she eventually goes for in this game. But for now, it is kind of just turning into more of a sit back and farm, surprisingly enough. And we kept stressing, at least that as far as Trademark Esports is concerned, with the momentum that they had going, that it seems like that they should have and they were going to keep it up, but it has slowed down into wanting to get Forsaken Archer more and more farm. Now, again, these last couple of team fights they've tried to get involved in, it hasn't necessarily came out in their favor. So perhaps it's that mental game of kind of affecting them a little bit of like, well, maybe we do need some more farm and need to play a little bit more passive for the time being. But as a result of that, it is buying MSI some time themselves, as we keep mentioning, now 2 tower kills still behind TDM in that sense. But at least MSI is starting to make some pushes now, and they're getting bigger and better themselves.
Well, with all these tower pushes for TDM, I mean, it's kind of a risk-reward situation. In fact, that you give a lot of free farm to MSI with those lanes being pushed, but at the same time you have map control, horrible map control, and of course I mean in a positive way. And of course with Tundra having the PK and whatnot, they could actually initiate to great effect. As a little bit of action at bottom. Actually, Legionnaire is going to get try to initiate on the Midas, but Midas is going to try to get away here.
Oh, wow.
And Pyromancer should be fine. She actually has a PK as well. So, and level 16 on Pyromancer. I cannot believe how's that even possible. And I guess I should answer my own question. The fact that all these push towers allows her to get a lot of XP with, I mean, the lanes being pushed. So that's one of the negative things of not keeping the aggression.
Yeah, very, very true. But Fly has no doubt done a fantastic job on that Pyromancer in terms of really, really recovering. The fact that she's level 16 now is great. God, we're seeing a lot of portal keys going off, and we just saw prior to that Legionnaire trying to go into Pyromancer, but she was able to blink away just before the taunt came out. We see right there Cthulhu. He too blinks away before Tralfamador can do anything to him, but in the meantime, Legionnaire still pushing. Now takes an offensive Demented Shaman's ultimate, so his armor is going to start dropping as a result of that, and so we'll see if he still feels comfortable with going in. But as you can see as well, you know, going the post-haste route in terms of his upgraded Little Red Booties pickup there for Tralfamador on that Legionnaire. But Conqueror is still yet to be killed, unless I'm mistaken on that. But yeah, I believe he's still yet to be killed in this game. So still waiting for that first one to happen as we are now approaching the 38-minute mark. Again, we'll see if either side feels comfortable looking to do that. But for now, it continues to be that farm game. Kraken has picked up a Demonic Breastplate now. So that's going to be another just huge item, more tanky for him, as well as some decent more damage output at the same time. But we're having a lot of split pushing going on here. We got Legionnaire pushing the bottom lane, and Tundra actually pushing the top lane in favor of Trademark Esports. So, and as you look around the board, we are starting to see many more bigger items being picked up as a result of the kind of the stage we're in right now of both teams just sitting back and farming. We've pretty much notified of the important ones. Obviously, Firebrand was finished for a while now, and Forsaken Archer. So clearly going to be going on the Geometer's Being route, which will just help that much more in terms of damage output.
Well, I think it's kind of a safe pick. I don't know if I like it, but it's a safe pick in the fact that you get DPS and survivability all in one, but not to the highest degree in either favor. So definitely a safe pick, and I mean it's fine as he's getting closer to that, obviously. So we'll see how that comes into effect in team fights. I mean, with all the burst damage and all the AoE coming out from MSI, that's why I'm not a big fan of it, considering the illusions probably just get insta-give by pretty much any spell coming out from MSI. But we'll see how it actually comes into play in the actual fights here.
Here we go, Cthulhu charging in or portal keying and then charging away. So just stunning a little bit, but no follow-up after that. So just getting the creep wave pushed up. Yeah, obviously Fresh Pro taunting me a little bit right there, saying, "Oh my God, action finally!" Nope, never mind. Just kidding. Thought we just want to trick you a little bit. So, but no action at least happening from that. There was a little bit of a push up here, but in the end, it is defended by MSI, and they decide to fall back. So, but Forsaken Archer just continuing to beat away at this bottom lane here with the creep wave again. Geometer's Bane. You got to think that's going to be finished in the very near future. And in terms of what exactly is TDM waiting for, I'm not sure. Maybe it is that item right there. Maybe it is just a Geometer's Bane. But at the same time, with this so much being on the line, they're not necessarily too worried about MSI, you know, getting too powerful themselves. As I kind of agree with that. Again, it kind of unfortunately, though, as a spectator, just makes it so we're going to sit in this farming stage rather than, you know, really aggressive stage as this game started out as.
Yeah, and like we've talked about, it's definitely a safe option for them, although it's given a lot of time. Demented Shaman's going to get initiated on. He's going to get insta-give as well, and we'll see if a team fight actually comes from this. But so that's a big pick-off. Demented Shaman dead for 50 seconds now, so expect perhaps a push here from TDM. That's what we've been talking about the entire period, where if they can actually get that Demented Shaman at some point before the fight even comes into play, then that's going to be enormous for them as far as team fight capabilities go.
Yeah, it sure is. So, but yeah, losing Demented Shaman right there, going to be down for another 35 seconds for Fnatic MSI. Middle lane in the meantime. Legionnaire actually jumping onto No-Tail right here. Again, the Storm Spirit use, though, so not going to be able to do enough damage for any kills. Now he gets Storm Spirited himself, and he's actually in a lot of trouble right now. And the burst damage working out, and down goes Legionnaire. Now, in the meantime, we see the Legion team. They were able to pick off. Who was that? That was actually Kraken. So it ends up being a 1-for-1 exchange between the two teams, as Kraken, too, he got caught out by himself, as the rest of the team was busy, you know, killing that Legionnaire over there.
Yeah, that was, I mean, we've seen this a couple times this game where the fights just get isolated or split up, I should say. Two different fights going on at the same time, and I mean, it's even trade overall probably, but at this point, again, the towers need to be pushed here from, I mean, I expect MSI to actually just group up here and actually try to initiate, because I think if they get a good initiation with all that burst damage, they can take down two crucial heroes before Sheepsticks can be used. Obviously, you can't really take out a Lego that fast, but considering that Torturer Actually, she does have a shrunken head. If she actually initiate before getting that shrunken head off.
Okay, Cthulhu gonna dive in right here, but Legionnaire jumps in with Tundra. They drop Dimension Shaman in a matter of seconds. Oh, look at Cthulhu as tanky as he is. He will fall as well. So this is a huge push now for TDM. Of course, they're gonna look to try to finish off Conga right here, and there's really nothing that Fnatic MSI can do about it right now, especially with both Kraken and Cthulhu still dead. You see the Cold Shoulder charge gonna be stopped by that Storm Spirit, but Conga goes down, and the Legion team now has a token of life to work with as well. So Fnatic MSI now falling that much more behind once again after that team fight right there. So hell of a fight for TDM. And now we'll see, again, will they make a push now as a result of getting that token of life, or will they still kind of sit back and look for another big item perhaps on that Forsaken Archer? You know, again, it wouldn't shock me if she decides to go for something like a Savage Mace now and just to really, really start putting out the damage output before feeling comfortable in terms of overcommitting and pushing in. But we'll see ultimately what TDM decides to do here.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think, is going to be the biggest thing, is what items they're going to end up going for. Like you said, the Savage Mace, I think, is the only option at this point, and I hope to God I'm right, because it is the best thing you can pick up on. I mean, you could proc 3 Savage Mace things, whatever they're called, the plus 100 bonus damage from each split fire attack, so it's just incredibly powerful. But, I mean, it all comes down to the farm and the support heroes as well. So, I mean, Glacier's getting decent farm. I mean, considering that the game started out, you know, so well for TDM, I think that's great. I mean, Lego is kind of tapering off right now. I mean, his items are obviously very helpful in the shrunken, or not the shrunken head, but the sheep stick. But as far as damage output, he's not going to be as helpful as he was earlier in the game. But I think getting them to this point where they have the lead and they have the late game carry, I think was really important. So, I mean, MVP so far to Tralfamdor this game, but we'll see if MSI can actually come back. And again, they need to start pushing. I'm not sure, like, they're not going to win these team fights, all things considered equal, especially with that token of life coming into effect. So perhaps expect them to start pushing at some point. I'm really not sure what their strategy is at this point.
Yeah, definitely not either with, well, honestly, with either one of these teams. I guess for the Legion team, it is kind of clear, you know, with it's just them wanting to get more and more on that Forsaken Archer. But actually, Legionnaire going to jump in right here and did it. Yes, they got Pyromancer, so the Sheep Stick on top of that. And you see the other Sheep Stick on Dimension Shaman. So some great CC coming out here from the Legion side, excuse me. Now Tundra catching Midas with that avalanche, and Midas will fall Cthulhu on a great charge attempt. Just a little bit too late now. Now he's in a lot of trouble. Storm Spirit going to be used on him defensively, trying to help him survive here. The taunt was already used by Legionnaire, but Cthulhu will just slowly but surely walk away. The release of Kraken missing everybody. There goes the Forsaken Archer ultimate going off. The Cthulhu just melts through it. Midas with the buyback. He falls once again, and Trademark Esports is definitely looking like they're going to make a huge push right here. Hat-trick coming out for Swindelmelons. Pyromancer falls, and now Kraken caught in the Sheep Stick. Will they get the kill on him as well? Taunt is not ready to go, but Kraken jumping. Nice response from Pyromancer, though, getting the kill on Tundra, but nothing matters in the end. Kraken falls, and Trademark Esports is going to start overwhelming Fnatic MSI right now, it seems like. You see Legionnaire, he's not even worried about the towers. Let the rest of the team take care of the towers. He's going to sit in the front lines, cut off any type of reinforcements. It's only Pyromancer right now, though, and you see him having fun with that stop cancel, but down goes the melee wax. The ranged wax will fall, and now, I mean, again, Fnatic MSI with so much being on the line, this being the third and final game, probably not going to concede just yet, but it is seeming very, very gloomy now in terms of their succession rate.
Okay, so I'm just going to say one word, and this is what the fight was all about. Sheep Stick.
Yeah.
We saw Sheep Stick being used multiple times on multiple people, and I mean, that is the difference in that fight, and that is the difference in the game. The farm just being too much for MSI to handle at this point. And I mean, TDM, I mean, I'm not going to say it's over yet, but it is. It is over. It's been over for a while, obviously. I mean, you call me a negative Nancy, but I'm a realist to some people as well. And I mean, MSI, obviously, I think it all came down to, I mean, what is it? Cthulhu has a barrier idol right now, which I don't know if we mentioned. Didn't even get it off in that fight. Yeah. So it just shows the power that the initiation from TDM. But it all comes down to, for me at least, the picks. As far as Cthulhu, if you pick Cthulhu and you don't do well in the laning phase, I think it's basically a failure. And unfortunately, they just didn't end up being aggressive enough, at least not at the early stage of the game. So, and Lego was basically, I mean, on the counterpart was the aggressor for TDM. So I think that those two matchups were the difference in this game overall.
Yeah, again, we stressed that from the beginning. Just with that Cthulhu pickup and then the Pyromancer, you know, it started off struggling for them. Now, eventually, it has been a proved to be a pretty effective pickup, you can say, in the end. But you know, MSI, they felt confident with the lineup. Clearly, you know, this being the third game with so much on the line, but they just did the damage output, especially with the slower start from Pyromancer, was not there. And now that it is kind of there, you know, it's just the TDM is just too tanky, too beefy themselves, and too much to handle. You got Forsaken Archer, it's just tearing through people now. You know, she still hasn't actually bought another item yet, but so we'll eventually see what she ends up buying. But as you can kind of see right there. But anyways, the Legion team, though, moving towards the top lane. Of course, this is the last lane that they need to push in. Legionnaire just going to go in the front lines. He ain't afraid no freaking ghost. He has 2,500 life, a lot of armor at 28 or so. And so feeling very, very confident if he was to get jumped on. But as far as Fnatic MSI is concerned, you know, this perhaps is that last stand. Can they actually delay what seems to be the inevitable at this point? As we do see a Savage Mace just delivered to Forsaken Archer. So she ends up going the pure damage route. And that's just going to start tearing through this Hellborn team as if she wasn't already. So, I mean, you just look at how quickly the tower is dropping. We did have a port in, I believe. No, I guess not. Let's get through the fun. Actually charges away with it. But this tower more than likely will fall right here. The offensive Dimension Dominant ultimate is out. Meanwhile, down here, actually, Legionnaire getting caught out. Storm Spirit going to be used on him. Trying to keep him alive in that release of Kraken. In comes the charge. Another Storm Spirit used. And here we go with the return for the Legion team. Now there goes the Forsaken Archer ultimate. The Glacial Downpour. Tundra in the front lines. Dropping Midas right there. Cthulhu gets decapitated in the end. And that should officially do it. Trademark Esports is very likely going to be a third place winners right here. Kraken falls. Down goes Pyromancer. The GG well plays come out. And Trademark Esports, it is official. They take third place here in the Heroes of Newerth tournament at the NASL Finals. Congratulations to them. Fnatic MSI fall into fourth place. That's where they will finish. A little bit surprising there after coming, especially coming in with the #1 seed and with the momentum they're coming in with. But TDM definitely deserving of that third place victory.
Yeah, amazing game, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but basically the Cthulhu font was the biggest factor in that game as far as why they lost, I think. But I mean, MSI in the grand scheme of things, obviously coming off DreamHack three times in a row winners. Yeah. Being fourth place at NASL, it's not the worst thing, obviously, but obviously it's a little bit disappointing for them. And that's the most surprising thing for me, considering that they've been at the top of the HoN scene in general for years now. Yeah. And by years, I mean like 2 years, since HoN hasn't been out that long. But regardless, if you include beta, I guess it's been a while. But I mean, regardless, this was a great series, and TDM definitely coming from behind. And I think MVP of that match, obviously, Tralfamador. If it wasn't for him, I don't know if they would have made it to mid-game, because the Cthulhu Font Demetachan would have been an enormous combination if they could actually do something with it. But Lego just too strong, and Tralfamador, big plays indeed.
Big plays. So, yeah, Tralfamador on that Legionnaire, he definitely made the statement right from the beginning for Trademark Esports, and it was just too much to handle clearly by the end time. And as far as Fnatic MSI, you know, it isn't too often where you say, especially with Fly, you know, getting outpicked. But, you know, I honestly think you can feel that a little bit here in this third game. But, you know, as you mentioned, you know, fourth place is still very, very respectable and what has been one of the greatest, if not the greatest, tournament structure that we've ever had for Heroes of Newerth. You know, with the week in, week out coverage throughout the regular season. They did finish first place. You know, they had their ups and downs like every other team, but they finished first place with that 5-2 record. Looked very impressive going into this point. Again, coming off their DreamHack winner victory, winning a lot of money over there. You know, they looked pretty good coming into this weekend, but clearly, you know, their loss to Online Kingdom and what, you know, maybe it does all go back to that very first game.
It's true.
That 80-minute game that they had against Online Kingdom. They ended up coming out on the losing end, and, you know, maybe that mental state of them, it just really got to them. They put them on that tilt, as the poker term would use, and they were just not able to recover from it.
I mean, you see it in sports all the time. Just momentum is it's so underrated, especially in esports, because a lot of people don't compare. They say you can't compare sports with esports, and I think that's a completely ridiculous statement because there's so many similarities, and that's just one of many. So I think you're completely correct in the fact that that first game could have been, you know, the downfall for MSI in this tournament at least.
Yeah, so again, they finished fourth place, and Trademark Esports, a big congratulations to them finishing third. And again, for them, I'm sure that they're really happy, especially the fact that, you know, Moonmeander had to come play for them. And speaking of Moonmeander, I think he continued to do fantastic today as well. Definitely a big part why they were successful. You know, shout out to TKO, the person that he replaced, of course, for Trademark Esports. But I'm sure Trademark overall very happy with the way things ended, you know, with the circumstances and everything. And I think, again, Moonmeander did a fantastic job of stepping stepping in and playing their role as, of course, that game he played the Forsaken Archer. So, but yeah, they looked very impressive. But that is going to set up, of course, our grand final match, which hopefully will be coming up very, very soon. But now that's going to be between Online Kingdom and Team Lion Esports Club. So you have any predictions there, Mr. Suns fan, on who you like?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Both teams are pretty amazing.
They look pretty damn good this weekend.
I mean, the cuddliest team is probably Lions, but okay, I don't know. It's going to be actually that is probably. I'm glad that these two match up against each other because I literally have no idea how it's going to go, and I can't wait to watch it. So it should be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. But for now, we do have an interview with the winners of Trademark Esports. Greta are going to be emceeing that, so let's throw it over to him.
I am currently on top of Trademark Esports, where they just won against Fnatic MSI. Guys, how you guys feeling?
Pretty awesome.
Get on my level, ho!
Yeah. Pretty standard. Anyway, it was a very close series. Talk a little about it. What was your mindset throughout the whole thing? Because I know Fnatic MSI is considered the heavy favorite to actually win the whole tournament. They actually finished fourth instead of what a lot of people thought. What was going through your mind while you were going through this whole series?
After the first game, we were a little, bummed out, but it was actually really nice. At DreamHack, we lost okay first game, then ended up winning the next two, and we did the same thing here. We just had to refocus and come in with a better mentality. I don't know, it worked.
All right, well, you guys got a new MVP on your team. Do you want to talk a little bit about him?
An MVP? Moon Meander? I mean, he's all right, I guess, but.
Every game they put me suicide lane, we lose. Every game they put me solo middle or carry, we win. I mean, that says something, right?
And how do you guys think the synergy with Moon Meander is going? I mean, do you guys like him? Are we going to see him permanently on your team?
TBA, we're not sure.
All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much. Congratulations for taking third place over at Fnatic MSI. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we'll be heading over to the finals match for the Heroes and Newerth series. Everybody stay tuned, don't go anywhere, more action coming your way.